Cars are all in position. Let's go to Jerry.
He starts in row 3, Paul.
On the inside of row 3, there you can see the field with the crews, the well-wishers, everyone as they stand by their cars. And we are ready now for the formal ceremonies. Let's go down.
Here by the Most Reverend Daniel M. Beekline, Archbishop of the Catholic Archdiocese of Indianapolis. Father Beekline.
Let us pray. God of grace and holiness, we invoke your presence upon this greatest spectacle in racing, the 80th Indianapolis 500-mile race. We come as peoples of the world of many religious traditions from east and west, north and south, other continents, countries, and our own home. We speak many languages, yet, O God, we are your people. With the Holman George.
About new drivers. Now you can see that the field began moving down the front stretch on the first of the 2 parade laps, and then the pace lap. Here is the way they line up. On the pole, Tony Stewart, Davy Jones in the middle of the front row, Eliseo Salazar in row number 7, Jim Guthrie, Ari Lyondike, and Scott Sharp. In the 8th row, Marco Greco, rookie Robbie Buell, and rookie Paul Durant.
Record holder Ari Lyondike. He cannot hear his crew. The crew's been talking to him during these parade laps. He just radioed in and said, when I come by, if you can hear me, hold a thumb up. The call just went out to the entire crew. Thumbs up as Lyondike goes by. At least they'll be able to hear.
I heard was the rookies all said, we're going to be patient. We're going to take our time.
Change the tires, so probably
ahead. Now that's a bad case of inexperience right there.
That was, and those guys, I don't know.
His crew with a piece of chalk on a blackboard.
Salazar closes. Is ignition trouble. So then as we're trying to roll out, you have one car on the starting field, Matsuda's, who is not working, and several.
The answer did not even get to take the green flag. And Johnny, we were told that it was a gearbox problem. What exactly happened?
I guess the shift fork broke, but they tried it on the jack stands and everything worked fine. I don't know, you know, they're pretty finely matched gears and things in there, and so I can't say what happened. It's just real disappointing.
Somehow this doesn't seem fair. Gary?
Another disappointed driver, John Paul Jr., quickly before they're ready to go green. What was the problem for you?
We had some kind of an engine problem, electronics with the ignition or something internal in the motor. A chance to show it.
We're ready to go green. Thank you.
The green flag, and we're racing once again. A second there. Salazar trying to. We're back at Indianapolis.
Will be black flag.
So he will be brought in,
yes,
stopped, and then head out.
Before the fuel mapping on the low end.
And here is Eddie Cheever.
You left.
And which is exactly what.
That was a terrific stop for you guys. A great stop. Stop. And remember, guys, all those.
Tomorrow night here on ABC. Jackaroo. And that's the entire rundown. That was after 53 laps. Now we're under yellow, though. The field is now fairly well gathered up as you look through the entire 33-car list.
Paul?
Well, that is sad news as well. Johnny O'Connell with a major problem out of the run. Guy that worked so hard to get in here, came in here third in the IRL points.
And then he struggled and didn't get out until the Monday of the second week. Fought to get some sponsorships, and he was working 12-hour days.
That often fries the fuel pump a little bit.
Remember, for Indy, the turbochargers will be gone back to the normally aspirated engine. As they go green once again, Wayne Sweeney, the starter here. We are under yellow here. Debris on the track is the reason for the yellow, and so most of the field now heading down on the pit road for Roberto Guerrero. So let's take a rookie, Eliseo Salazar, veteran here, Alessandro Zampedri, and Ari Lyondike. Those are the top 6 in the field, still under the yellow. Now, one of the drivers being reported out is Marco Greco, Gary Gerald.
Motor for the month of May, driving for A.J. Foyt, been like for a Brazilian driver.
Well, it's great for work with a man like him because he's a really...
Now, Buddy Lazier's coming off of turn 2. They'll catch up with him down at turn 3.
All right, so the pace car now inches. Back in Indianapolis under yellow, here is your Valvoline race summary at the halfway point. 100 laps as Davy Jones was the leader, averaging 147 miles an hour, not nearly a record. 4 different leaders, 7 different lead changes, and we're still on the 6th caution of the race. There are 11 cars being reported out. Durant, Unser, Johnny Unser, of course, John Paul Jr., Michele Alboreto, all out of the race. Johnny O'Connell, Johnny Parsons Jr., Stefan Gregoire, Marco Greco, and the big name.
Go a lap down to the field. Right before the pace car comes, they'll shoot out and come back into the pits.
All right, so a couple of things to mention. Scott Sharp, he started 21st. He's now 8th. Richie Hearn started 15th. He's now 6th. And after spinning on the first lap, Mark Dismore has moved up in the field and now runs in 8th.
There's just no adhesion between that and the pavement.
Well, as we look at the full field rundown at the conclusion of 103 laps, it's more than wet down there. That's almost a swamp, Gary Gerald.
Paul, we were checking with the crew and Dick Simon, who's on the radio with Salazar, to see if he gave any explanation for the contact, and he said no, there was nothing. He just radioed and said, I had contact with Lyondike. Let me show you, however, here's the tow link still handle the race car.
Salazar turned down so sharp, and he spun, and he comes up with a flat right rear, but he never hit anything with the right rear.
Most of the front runners, with the exception of Richie Hearn, stopped. Now, top 5 cars are on the leader lap, and don't forget, last year you had Jacksonville 105th lap. They're starting 100th.
Hit it in that last yellow.
The field now finally getting a chance to head into the pits. Ari Lyondike, one of them. Attrition. Well, attrition having won Super Day at Indianapolis.
Tells you a whole lot about the thinking going on from Lee Koonsman.
He's been around racing a long time. He's a cagey old guy.
And he was a great driver in his day. I've seen him lay down some laps that were spectacular.
That's why that's the chief mechanic on that car is a kid I raised since he's about 16 years old. So naturally, I'm kind of hoping.
Once again, as we conclude yet another yellow session that has been most eventful. Unusual race, a lot of occurrences. The leader of the race will, of course, be the 91 car, it's purple, of Buddy Lazier. He will be chased by the 8. Caution is out when a car we've been following, Mark Dismore, got in trouble.
Up right now in the pit for the rest of the race. Now, Buddy Lazier, according to my calculation, only has to make one more stop to the end, as opposed to Richie Hearn and the number 70 car of Jones and the 21 of Guerrero all have to stop, according to my calculations, 2 times. To make a big difference now in the outcome. Now we're getting to where the pit strategies are starting to really play an important role.
Well, of course, Bobby, that will, especially if it goes all green. But if we do have some yellows, that advantage, if you like, might go away.
Except that it's still pushing. Or if in other words, if the other guys have to do 2 and he does 1, he's going to stay in the lead.
All right, let's go to Gary Gerald.
Oh, just a quick mention on Eliseo Salazar. Of course, when we last left him, they were concerned about that suspension piece, the toe link on the left front. Just checked in with Dick Simon and the crew. They say the car is working remarkably well. No concerns about it.
Well, we're 200 complete. Roberto Guerrero, that yellow and white car, is the leader of the engine that let go on Mark Dismore's car. But, Danny, they're being very careful about it, and it looks like they're going to try and clear the entire surface.
Right.
Record number of cautions in the Indy 500 came in 1988, 14 for 68 laps. That's the number of cautions. We're, of course, at the 8th caution. Number of laps, 1992, there were 85 laps worth of caution period. And again, we hope to go green at the conclusion of this lap. And the order will be Guerrero and Jones, and they're right together on the course. And in 3rd place, Lazier.
He's got a lot of traffic. He's set back in 11th place as they come down for the green.
We're green again. Jones.
I guess it counts.
Floating over the speedway and keeping track of the action, the Spirit of Akron, one of the 3 Goodyear blimps in its domestic fleet. It's docked at the corporate headquarters.
First out. Now, the crew should have thought of that.
Now the stage is set for a most fascinating run to the finish at Indy.
And, Jack, let me ask you a question. They didn't get the fuel in the car, isn't that correct?
It was awfully hard to tell, Danny, because there was so much confusion. But from my
car, Jack, that you know of that burned, was there any harm?
No, they were very fortunate.
Wins. He still has to make another stop.
I still think some of these guys are very close on their final stop, nevertheless. Dave and Roberto Guerrero, those 5 cars of the 33 that started, still in the Indianapolis 500 with 32 laps to go. As the pace comes up again, Salazar is at the front, and he comes toward the green flag. Davy Jones tries to make a move to the inside, still trying. Salazar's taking him all the way to the wall.
Serious accident right there for no good reason.
Bobby, look where he is in the field. He could have taken
drivers had deals like that, Danny.
Parked over there, so I think you're probably right. We'll get a green. Buddy Lazier's right behind it. But even if those other guys stop for fuel, they're going to be too far behind.
And guys, remember, we have 2 incidences on the racetrack. It may take a little bit longer because they're going to try to get the Menard engine on the back straightaway. Well, I see no problems down here, and none of the other cars have been moving around in my section.
Buddy Lazier, hand up in the air, exercising his fingers. He's been gripping that wheel solidly.
That might have a little bit to do with nerves right now. He's not very far away from winning the 500.
If Lazier, the difference this year, of course, Buddy Lazier in the practice for the race at Phoenix, slammed the wall hard, broke his back, fractured vertebrae, but he's worked hard to come back in just a short time, barely 2 months, and now with 4 laps to go, with the help of a special seat that absorbs the shocks in the car, he may be on his way to winning the Indianapolis 500. Davy Jones is separated by 1 car, and that's the 22 car of Michel Jourdain. But
tuck it in, Paul. They've got to do that. There they go with it right now. They realize that they need a green finish.
we could get the green flag shortly. If 1 or 2 laps to the finish.
You know, Paul, my senses tell me if there's any way that they can do it, they'll always try to finish this race under the green. Buddy Lazier is exercising. He's trying to...
I think it probably has a little bit to do with nerves, too. I mean, don't forget, he's got a yellow. He's going to go green.
Coming here, you're 3 laps away. What does this mean to you?
It's just a thrill. You know, after all these years, I'm going to have to get going here, but thanks, world. This shows that where the stars are and where the cars are right here in Indianapolis, where they belong, and they will stay here year after year. And thanks, everybody, for attending.
Ron Himmelgarn, guys.